What's going on, everybody? I am Noah,
I'm Ethan.
and it is officially been announced at the San Diego Comic Con this past weekend that Ryan Gosling is going to be our next Ghost Rider. Uh, what do you think about that? Like, that's huge news, dude.
I am so excited. Ghost Rider is one of my all-time favorite comic book characters. But the big question I got, Noah, and maybe you know, is it Johnny or is it Danny?
Danny Catch, man, or Johnny Blaze? That is like the question of the century, my guy.
Nah, it's
Like,
a throwball. It's Robbie Reyes, man.
it's Robbie Reyes, man, right? Like, I don't think it's gonna be Robbie Reyes for obvious reasons with the
Yeah,
Ryan Gosling casting. Um, but you're right on the money, man. Like, seriously, like, what is it going to be? Because, like, so what we know about what has been kind of like the buzz behind the scenes with the Ryan Gosling casting is that supposedly Ryan Gosling went to the director Sean Levy and they hatched a plan together on what was going to be the idea for the character, maybe even the script and idea of the overall story. Took it to Feige, and Feige gave it, his thumbs up, and he apparently loves the idea of it, and that says a lot, I think, for what's going to be going on with Ghost Rider.
absolutely. The fact that this was not we didn't know what we were gonna do, or like we got the character and we're not sure what we're gonna, what the plan, what the script is. No, the script, the casting, the director already, before it ever even got to Feige, was already like solid enough to just give him the green light and say, "Yes, I love it. Do it. I'll give you the money." That makes me super stoked and gives me full confidence that Marvel's back, baby.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm 1,000% in agreement with you, and it's also sort of like I think I've seen a little bit of discourse online. I've seen a lot of good. Don't get me wrong, but I've definitely seen some comments out there about people not being happy with the Ryan Gosling casting. And I think first of all, like just to put it out there, he wasn't necessarily my first pick either. He was definitely in my top five, but he wasn't my first pick either. However, I have seen him in some roles where the guy is a very diverse actor, man, and obviously, so when you have somebody that is a diverse actor, can't speak today. If you have somebody that's a diverse actor, and then also obviously cares about this character so much that he's coming up with ideas of like what he wants his character or version to be, it's like, dude, like we're in good hands then, because not a lot of actors take that sort of effort, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, Ryan Reynolds wasn't like one of my top picks, but after sitting it with for a little bit, I'm actually really excited for Ryan's role. I mean, he does have the chops. I mean, I know a lot of people think of him as Ken from Barbie, or he can't never escape the Notebook. But
Right.
I think he's going to do a great job. He had a lot of more serious roles, even his like more comedic roles, which would work for a more Johnny kind of take, like with his Fall Guy movie. Even though it was more comedy, it did have some serious, and he did actually, was an action star. And I really
Right.
did kind of feel drawn to him. So I'm really excited for that. I think the casting's right. I love that Sean Levy is the director. I know some people
Yeah.
online have been a little bit more, you know, less excited for that. But I think
Right.
people got to remember, like, Sean Levy has made some really great movies, at least
He's
personally
yeah,
to me.
like he's
So
got some good movies out there, man. Like Real Steel was a freaking awesome. I love that movie. Deadpool. I mean, and even if we were to just take what he's done in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to this point, the Deadpool and Wolverine movie I really thoroughly enjoyed. I don't know if it's the fact that like I've seen some comments online about like people kind of being afraid that they're not going to make this movie rated R and it's just going to be PG-13. And I'm kind of like, don't get me wrong, I think rated R Ghost Rider is like such an awesome concept that I think it would really work. I'm not going to say it's a make it or break it whether this movie is PG-13 or rated R. At least it's not for me anyway.
yeah, I mean, it's already been proven that a Ghost Rider film can do well or be well received with a PG-13 rating. Yeah, I mean, personally, yeah, I'd love to see the rated R version. Ghost
Right.
Rider is very much a dark and gritty character, one of the most gritty characters in Marvel Comics, and I would hate to put the chains on him and kind of pull back a little.
Right, right.
So yeah, I'd love to see an Unleashed, especially let the spirit of vengeance out and judge everybody.
That's the thing, man. And it's like, and again, kind of back to the original like question, man. Like whether it's going to be Johnny Blaze or Danny Cash, it's kind of like I'm kind of I don't know. I'm kind of split because like don't get me wrong, Johnny Blaze is like the for me it's the go-to Ghost Rider. You know what I mean? He's the most noted. I we already have a version of that that we've seen on screen. Technically, not a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at least at this point, because maybe Secret Wars brings old Nicolas Cage out of retirement as as the Ghost Rider. Who knows what they'll do with Secret Wars? But obviously with Ryan Gosling, they're going to take a little bit of a different take, and it's just interesting because you sit there and wonder, like, since he went to Sean Levy with this idea, it's like, who did he have in mind? Like, is he a Johnny Blaze fan, or was he going with a Danny Catch?
Yeah, was he like like a '90s kind of guy? Is that kind of more era that he goes to? I mean, either way, I couldn't care less if it's Johnny or Danny. I think either way it's gonna be really great. I just think it's kind of like, what story did Ryan want to tell? Was it more of a you know Johnny? I mean, Johnny has always more accepted his role as the Spirit of Vengeance,
Right,
whereas Danny does not. He never really liked it.
right.
Uh, he's
There
much
was that. Yeah, there was that sort of like internal conflict with Danny Ketch where he really didn't want to be the spirit of vengeance, and it's like I feel like that could be really interesting to see on screen, especially with somebody of Ryan Gosling's talents, like
yeah.
being able to see an actor sort of have that sort of dilemma in his head.
I think my hope is, if because my big thing is I do not want Ghost Rider nerfed. I think he's one of the
Oh
most
yeah.
powerful comic characters in general, and I just hope he lives up to the powerful the might that he
Oh,
has. And it's like, if it's Danny Ketch, maybe that's kind of the struggle, because he is such a force that is almost that struggle. Like, maybe he sees it as a spirit of and just goes too far, and because he has the
right.
power, he really can.
Oh, for sure. And actually, what that kind of like gets into a little bit, which was going to be one of my main questions for you, a
Mhm.
little bit, is kind of like whether it's Johnny Blaze or Danny Catch, who is like in your rogues gallery of like Ghost Rider villains? Who do you want to see?
Yeah. There's so many good ones. I mean,
Because
obviously,
like
most
so some of
people.
like
Yeah, go ahead.
some of the like the there's obviously some like really well known ones from the comics, right? And like okay, so like obviously in the last Ghost Rider movie we got Blackheart, right, which was kind of like one of the most well known ones, right?
Yeah.
However, there is one that is really well known in the rogues gallery that I want your take on if they decide to do this, that really sets up and makes sense with the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now, especially with a character that we've been asking for a long time. They were introduced. Maybe it's in a show that really wasn't well received, but I think this
Oh yeah.
person was. But Mephisto.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I mean, I think it makes the most sense. We already got an actual cast, like, actor for it. Um, I can't think of his name right now, but uh, yeah, I mean, Mephisto obviously is one of the most notable villains of all. I mean, in some versions he signed the deal with Mephisto that gave him the
Right,
spirit of vengeance. So storyline could be very interesting with that, especially. I mean, it opens the door for Mephisto to be a larger villain, especially with Wanda and stuff. And I think it would bring more connection. And also would really allow Ghost Rider to kind of play that more supernatural dark. kind of connection to the MCU and maybe join the
Right.
Midnight Suns. Maybe that could be what it's leading up to. Mephisto being the main bad guy of that.
Right, right. I almost feel like you kind of have. Well, okay, so therefore that kind of opens up the idea. Therefore, like if I feel like you have to have Mephisto in the movie because, like, back to the original like comics where he got his start up from Mephisto. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because he got his start up from Mephisto, and again, like no matter whether he plays Johnny Blaze, Danny Catch, like they can kind of like as Marvel or the MCU does really well, they can kind of alter the story just enough to make it really fit their narrative. You know what I mean? And tell their version of that character story. Which who knows? Maybe that's part of what Ryan Gosling went to Sean Levy with is that idea of how it gets started and everything, and characters that are involved. But it definitely does therefore beg the question of like, do you have Mephisto be in the movie, but not as the main like not main antagonist, kind of like the original Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage, where he was there, but he was kind of like just kind of like in the background, and Blackheart was the main villain. Like, do you do something like that so therefore you can save Mephisto for
I feel
like
like
the
you have
Midnight
to.
Suns?
Yeah, I feel like you have to. I mean, it would make the most sense of him being like the organizer and then lead up to the Midnight Sun. Not you can't have Mephisto be this throwaway one-time villain. We've been building up to him for a while since like WandaVision that everybody wanted him to be in, and then we finally kind of got him. So
Right,
it's just gonna be one of those things like, is the Midnight Suns coming? And if so, I don't know of a better villain than Mephisto for that.
right, right.
With the
And it's
dark Avengers.
I'm even sitting here kind of like thinking of like again because it's like I feel like what they're not going to want to do just a repeat of what you saw as like the Mephisto and Blackheart that we saw with Nicolas Cage's take on Ghost Rider. But I'm kind of like sitting here like, do we maybe see something with like Lilith involved? That would be a cool.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I mean, there's like tons of different uh, you know, rogues gallery villains that they can pull from. I think.
Right,
I mean, you got like Orb, and you got like
right.
Lucifer was big in there. One that would be very interesting is because the movie wasn't very well received, and neither was the actor. But there could be a way to introduce a new Morbius.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good idea, especially because like, well, and it's like, yeah, we had a Morbius, but that was a part of the Sony stuff. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't MCU, and I guarantee if they came up with a good enough like story or like deal with Sony, I feel like they could make a movie off of that. That's a good point. But therefore also too like so do you think they make Morbius like straight up villain for the MCU, or is it sort of like anti-hero but like they're at odds sort of situation?
Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't
I think
know.
it would work either way. The big thing with me though is that since the script kind of already seemed like it was already done before Kevin Feige got involved, I'm
Right,
thinking of a more self-contained story that Ryan
right,
Gosling and John Levy was going for. So I think we got to kind of think along the lines of maybe a villain or a thing that doesn't
right,
really involve the broader universe. It could potentially, but
right.
it's to be seen
I
what
think
they're
you're
gonna do.
I think you're right. I think sometimes, as we're sitting here just kind of nerding out about all of these announcements, and I think our theories just kind of run wild sometimes, where it's like
Absolutely.
we're kind of talking about like all these things that we wish we could see, and it's like not to make it sound like, oh, if this doesn't happen, it's going to be a bad movie. I think it's going to be a fantastic movie. I just think you're probably right. It's probably a little bit more simple than what we're making it out to be right now. But I think that's what's fun in the early stages of like when you get to hear these announcements like what's going to happen, like where's this going to go. I think we have a lot to be excited for in this movie.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's gonna be a real. I think it's gonna be a real turning point for Marvel, and especially for all the Ghost Rider fans, me included. We've wanted to see him since the Ghost Rider 2, which definitely wasn't well received.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I don't know that there's really much more we can say about that right now. So everybody that's watching, if there's anything that we said during this that you like, dislike, let us know in the comments. What are your thoughts on on Ryan Gosling casting? What do you think the movie's going to be about? Again, let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
All right.